Welcome to Wild Take Wednesdays right here on Unc's Corner. I am your host, Unc. For those who don't know what Wild Take Wednesday is the conversational portion of Unc's Corner where we talk about everything hip hop. Welcome to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share. If you're watching on TikTok live with me, what's going on? Damn, I think that's loud, actually. I think that's super loud. Jesus, I think that's super loud. But yeah, what's going on? If you're watching on the on TikTok with me, tonight we're not doing Twitch. But nevertheless, welcome to Wild Take Wednesdays. I am your host, Unc. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. If you are a slime, today is the show is for you. If you're a slime today, the show is for you. We're gonna talk about what your goat said a week ago. We're gonna expand into that, and then I'm gonna answer Hype Magazine. Right, I'm gonna answer Hype Magazine. Yes, the beard is bearded. No, so big shout out to Z. Big shout out to everybody on the chat. Big shout out to the chat. Big shout out to all the mods. Z, Verseless, Planet. Big shout out to the community members of VC. Big shout out to Sean E. He's in the cut like peroxide. Big shout out to Sandra. Big shout out to everybody that's watching right now live on TikTok. But yeah, welcome to Wild Take Wednesdays. Like I said, we're gonna talk about Areece's comments from last week. I'm gonna walk you guys through why I think he said what he said, what he said, and my thoughts on what he said, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. So yeah, please do tap the screen while you're watching, like the live, share the live with your friends. It is Wild Take Wednesdays right here on Unc's Corner. Alright, cool. Let me take a swig. Also, DJ's Boo sponsor Unc's Corner. DJ's Boo sponsor Unc's Corner with Mo Fire. Sponsor Unc's Corner with Mo Fire. DJ's Boo, we out here. Alright, cool. So, if you were here during the, we're gonna go straight into it. We're not even gonna waste time. If you were here during the Areece. Right. Wait, let me see what Tando's saying. Let the ones who can't be offered submit on Friday so they can be worthy to be funded. No, not at all, my brother. So if you were here last week, or not last week, but like I think it was 2 weeks ago when I was doing the Areece, review, right? When I was doing the Areece review. If you watch the video or the clip on TikTok, you saw some of the opinions that I had on Areece's album Business as Usual. It was mostly positive reviews, right? But I said something, right? And Sihle, the real Sihle IV on Twitter, took a clip of what I said, and posted it on the 23rd of September at 3 p.m., right? The clip got 29,000 views. Sihle, if you're going to take my clips, at least credit me. Yeah, Sihle took a clip from Unc's Corner Live. You can even see the Unc's Corner.live thing. It's from TikTok, right? He took a clip from Unc's Corner Live. And on the clip, I say something, right? This is what I say on the clip. Areece is probably the biggest and the most powerful, dominant boom bap rappers in this country. A country that doesn't prioritize boom bap rap. You understand? He is also one of the biggest, if not the biggest, and the most important lyrical rappers in this country. You understand? And he doesn't need to make a club hit. So I'm gonna stop it there, right? Because what I said it in the first 4 seconds of the clip. Right, I'm gonna repeat what I said. I'm gonna play the clip again. Right, I'm gonna repeat what the clip says. The first 4 seconds of the clip. Right, Sihle posted this on the 23rd of September, 2025, at 5:02 or 3 or 4 minutes past 3. Right, he posted this on Twitter. Sihle the plug. Those who know the real at the real Sihle IV posted this on Twitter. Right, on the 23rd of September, 2025, at 4 minutes past 3. Right, it's a clip from Unc's Corner. Right, it's a clip from the Unc's Corner Twitter page, which was extrapolated from my business as usual album review. Right, this is what I said. I'm gonna play it again. Areece is probably the biggest and the most powerful, dominant boom bap rappers in this country. Cool. We're gonna stop it there, right? On the 25th, so the video dropped on the 23rd, right? On the 23rd of September, right? On Twitter, Sihle posted it. And the people said whatever they said on the comments and whatever the case may be. I'm going to address some of you non-history knowing kids, right? It's not your fault. You didn't go to school. But that's why you got to come to Rapper U. 2 days later, right? 2 days later, Areece tweets, can we at least stop calling it boom bap? 2 days later, almost 2 days later to the hour. Right, Sihle posted this video on the 23rd of September 2025 at 3:04. Areece tweets on the 25th, 2 days later of September at 3:02. Almost 24 hours to the minute. Almost 42. Wait, 24, 48. Sorry, almost 48. Thingy. Almost 48 hours to the minute. Almost, right? He tweets, can we at least stop calling it boom bap? Right? Now, when I saw this, I'm like, I know this is for me. Right? I know this is for me. You understand what I'm saying? But this is not only directed to me, this is directed to also the field. But I know I am the reason. Hi, Jay. I am the reason why he would tweet this. Right? Because Sihle took my video from UNC'S Corner, posted it, and then that video created conversation, right? And then 2 days later, I would imagine, just like he has seen other videos, right, on the UNC'S Corner live page, as his brother has, right, he probably saw this one from Sihle, right, and he tweets, can we at least stop calling it boom bap? Now, the first thought in my mind, I'm like, so what are we going to call it, right? What are we going to call it? But before I even get to answering that, same day a fan, Mpo, says, Ki'ing. You understand? As in, then what is it? Right? And he answers, Agiti. Classic hip hop, underground, original. As in like original hip hop. Right? So he's going classic hip hop, underground hip hop, or original hip hop. Something, anything but boom bap. Onomatopoeia ekana, ka big 25. Now, when I was doing my notes, right? When I was doing my notes, I hadn't looked at that part of the tweet. Like I had like put that to the side, right? I was just addressing the actual tweet, right? That took off, which is, can we not call it boom bap? Can we not call what he does boom bap rap? So when I was building my notes and I was building my argument for today's show, right? I had to look at two perspectives. You understand? Now, when I looked at the second part of the tweet and he says, I don't know what can we call it. We can call it classic hip hop. We can call it underground hip hop. We can call it original hip hop, right? Anything but boom bap. And his thingy to that is because, oh, the onomatopoeia or the onomatopoeia is doing whatever the case may be. Now, I'm here to say we're not going to rewrite history because of your preferences, big dog. With all due respect, right? And I'm here to say boom bap is a part of your fabric. You may not want to be called a boom bap rapper. You do know that you make boom bap rap. You just don't like being called a boom bap rapper. Right? But because, right, I call myself a hip hop scholar. I call myself the hip hop Nostradamus. I call myself the hip hop Jesus, right? And the kids call me Unc as an authoritative figure of hip hop. Because I sit here on these here videos and I teach about hip hop. I thought to myself, here's what we're going to do. I am going to walk you and your fans through this whole thing as to why boom bap is the way that it is. Because it seems like boom bap has a bad connotation when it comes to today's hip hop. Right? Because of some 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You understand? It seems like also the marketing and you guys as the rappers also have given boom bap a bad rep. Because for you to go, oh, it's not boom bap, but we can call it underground or original or classic hip hop, but you don't want to name it its actual name, its actual historical name based on the sonic properties of it, right? It's a problem to people like me, right? Now, the reason why I'm doing this also is because of what some of you guys said. You understand? What some of you guys said, nothing about his sound is remotely close to boom bap. WTF, says Lisedi, right? Lisedi must be 16 years old. He don't know nothing from nothing, right? And there's a bunch of comments, right, talking about, oh no, he's not boom bap. Some are taking a jab at me saying I'm trying to be different. I don't care. You guys are 16, right? Unknown says, but Alchemist says the same thing. I don't care who said what. I'm here to walk you through it, right? I don't give a shit who said what. Oh, I said I'm not going to swear. But I don't care who says what. I'm here to walk you through it and explain to you why we named that genre boom bap, right? I'm here to explain it. So I'm going to walk you through it, right? We're going to start with the history. But before we start with the history, right, let me pull up, right, where this thing comes from, right? Let me pull up where this thing comes from. If you guys are familiar with music, right, there's a man by the name of James Brown. You understand? There's a man by the name of James Brown. James Brown is a famous musician. You understand? You guys have heard a lot of James Brown music. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of James Brown music. This is a man's world. That's James Brown. A bunch of songs, right? James Brown had a song called Funky Drummer. Right? James Brown had a song called Funky Drummer. And Funky Drummer has a drum break. Right? The most famous drum break in the world. Right? Funky Drummer, the song by James Brown, has a drum break that was improvised by a man named Clyde Stubblefield, right? Clyde Stubblefield. He was the drummer, right, on the song Funky Drummer by James Brown. And that drum break goes, right? That's the drum break from Funky Drummer, a song by James Brown, right? A song that came out in 1986, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? Right? Funky Drummer. Improvised by a man called Clyde Stubblefield on a song by James Brown, right? We start there. So we ask ourselves, what is boom bap rap or what is boom bap hip hop, right? Boom bap rap or boom bap hip hop is the foundational sound, right, of hip hop music, right? It's the foundational style of hip hop music. You understand? It came into popularity in the late 1980s, and this would make sense because the song Funky Drummer came out in 1986, right? So for them to sample that, right, it had to happen in the late 80s, right? And then it found its proliferation in the early 1990s, right? The name boom bap is, as Areece said, an onomatopoeia, right? The boom bap comes from the kick and the snare, right, on Funky Drummer. For those who don't know, Funky Drummer, that drum break is essentially the bedrock of hip-hop music. So the first hip-hop beats, you understand, first ever hip-hop beats that were made, that drum break from Funky Drummer was extrapolated, and that was the drum break, and then they put different samples on that drum break. Now, obviously, you can play with the tempo of the drum break. That's where you have songs within the 60, so within the 70, 80, and 90 BPM by slowing down that drum break. And then you also have other people, right, who could afford the 808 machine, right? I think it's the Roland 808 machine, if I'm not mistaken, right? And they could do a variation of that using 808 drums, right? The 808 drum kit. So 808, right, is not a genre. 808 is a drum kit. You understand? It's a machine. It's a machine. The Roland 808 machine, right? That had different sounds on it. It's not a genre, right? I know some of y'all just figured that out. No, it's an actual machine. The Roland 808, right? It had a drum kit, right? So the 808 drum that you're hearing, it has always been there, right? Matter of fact, hip hop drums, once they stopped sampling the funky drummer and they started doing a variation or a derivative of that, right? They used the 808 drum kit. That's why the kick was hitting. That 808 drum kit didn't come through with Kanye West or with trap music. It has always been there since the 1980s and the 1990s, right? So, boom bap is an onomatopoeia that speaks to the drum and the snare. You understand? The drum and the snare, right? Boom, bap, boom, bap, boom, boom, bap, boom, 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 bap, boom, bap, right? That's a traditional hip hop beat. Boom, bap. It's not because somebody wanted to call it. No, it's literally named after how it sounds. It's literally named after how it sounds, right? That is why it's called boom bap. It's named after its sonic properties, right? Which the sonic properties borrow from the funky drama by Clyde Stubblefield, right? James Brown, so on and so forth. Cool. Now the producers for boom bap, Marley Marl, DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, Q-Tip, right? Later Kanye West, Just Blaze, all of these guys that built, right, the sound of the 90s, right? With Jay-Z, right? With Big L, Fat Joe, Common, LL Cool J, all of these guys, right? I'm walking y'all through how boom bap becomes boom bap, right? Cool. So, DJ Premier, Gangsta, all of these guys. That's how boom bap then finds its, right, Mobb Deep with Shook Ones, all that. That's how boom bap like becomes now present, ever present, right? Mind you, this was extrapolated from a drum break on a song that was released in 1986, right? So late 80s, and then it finds its prominence, right, or its proliferation in the 1990s, which is what we know, right? Which is what essentially influenced us. Now, the sonic characteristics: hard-hitting drums, right? Punchy kick from the Roland 808 machine. Crisp snare from the Roland 808 machine, right? Simple two-step groove. Boom, 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 right? Two-step, right? Some of the sonic characteristics of boom bap, apart from just the drum break, then would be sampling, right? Soul, funk, jazz, R&B, be chopping, be looping. We all know what that is, right? Approximately 85 BPM, as Big Verse has said, right? We know that its sonic property is minimalist, but it gives the rapper, enough room for you to rap, and that's how hip hop introduces itself to the world, through boom bap, right? What the kids will call alternative rap today, or what the kids will call old school rap today, or what the kids will call boom bap today, right, was just hip hop. All of these names didn't exist. It was just hip hop. That was rap music, hip hop music, right? As hip hop grew and it went into different spaces and had different subgenres, that's when the name came into play, right? Cool. Now we understand what boom bap rap is, correct? Fine. Now we understand what boom bap rap is. Now cue in Areece. All right? I want us to then Think about it, right? Cue in Areece. But before we cue in Areece, right? Excuse me. We have to look at, what boom bap became. Boom bap became became essentially the soundtrack for the golden era of hip hop. You understand? Which is then late 80s, all of the 90s, and the 2000s. I saw somebody talk about Jay Dilla. You understand? Your Jay Dillas then became prominent in the late 90s, early 2000s. You understand? And then it took off, right? And then it kind of like went flat once we walk into 2003, 2004. That's where the South comes into prominence with crunk and other variations of crunk. Now, when we talk about key artists, we talk about Nas, we talk about Gangstar, Jay-Z, Tribe Called Quest, you understand, De La Soul, Wu-Tang Clan, Notorious B.I.G., we talk about those guys, right? If you don't know these guys, right, I would implore you to go listen to these guys, right? Now we cue in Areece. Let's go back to the tweet. The tweet says, can we at least stop calling it boom bap? Right? That's what the tweet says. The tweet says, can we at least stop calling it boom bap? Right? We've already mentioned why it's called boom bap. Right? We've already mentioned why it's called boom bap. I've already explained why it's called boom bap. Right? I've explained properly as to why it's called boom bap. Right? Now, let's cue in Areece's catalog. Right? So let's walk through Areece's catalog. Right? When we look at Areece's catalog post TWC, to be quite honest, right? To be very, very, very thingy, to be very clear. When we look at Areece's catalog, right, post TWC, Areece started making boom bap rap. And even though in his albums there's trap songs, right, post TWC, right, post Mash Beats, Areece started making a good portion of boom bap rap music. And Areece started making a good portion of boom bap rap music because essentially, I guess that's who he is, right? He's influenced by the same, people that I mentioned, like the history lesson, the history lesson that I mentioned. And as far as what boom bap rap is, why boom bap rap is called boom bap rap, its sonic properties, right? We can even go back, you understand, to the sonic properties. The sonic properties we mentioned, right, the funky drama, right, that was extrapolated, the drum break from funky drama that was extrapolated, funky drama dropped in 1986 by James Brown, right? Clyde Stubblefield, right, is the drama that did the drum break on funky drama that was extrapolated, that was used as the bedrock for boom bap music, right, or boom bap rap. Boom bap is the onomatopoeia, right, describing the actual sonic properties of the sound. Boom bap, right, the boom is for the kick, the bap is for the snare. Boom boom bap, boom 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 bap, boom boom bap, right? We've established that, right? That was extrapolated in the 1980s, late 1980s, and that was appropriated, and different derivatives were created of that same drum break using the Roland 808 drum machine, right? And that was the founding sound of hip hop music, right? And the reason why it was tagged boom bap is because hip hop music now started having different forms of it. Cloud rap, trap, whatever the case may be. And given the fact that boom bap rap itself is regional to New York, because you had other hip hop music, you understand, like West Coast hip hop music and South hip hop music, but because the record labels were in Manhattan, New York, right, the music that was being pushed out at the time before Dre and them came to New York to look for record deals, right, was essentially boom bap rap. So also it's very important to understand the context from a record label and historical perspective and geographical perspective. Now that I've explained that part, we go back to Areece. Areece says, let's not call it boom bap. But when we look at post Mash Beats, what do we have? On KTK, I can't say its full name, right? On KTK, we have Swiss Frank, right? We have Swiss Frank and the other song on Swiss Frank. Right, I forgot now what it's called. Right, because Swiss Frank is split into two songs. Right, we have that song. Right, Michael made the beat, I believe. Very boom bap esque. You understand? Very boom bap esque. If you hear the beat, you understand? You hear the samples. You look at the sonic properties of what boom bap is. That song fits into it. Right? You look at Michael Just Send Me the Chop with Ginger Trail. The song sounds very boom bap esque. Right? It has boom bap properties based on the sonic properties that we discussed. If you look at Scented Candles, if you look at Solo, if you look at So Much, right? So Much is more of a newer version or a newer adaptation of boom bap. But if you look at the sonic properties of the music itself, right? It fits boom bap. If you look at El Dorado off of P2, you look at The Run off of P2, West Africa Time off of P2, White Noise off of P2. What do we see? It is not coincidence, it's consistency, it's a pattern. Right? It's a pattern, it's consistency. Now you have to ask yourself who Areece is as a person, right? Or at the very least as a rapper. Historically so, right? We look at Jay Jody, we look at the music that Jay Jody does, we look at the Black Layers, we look at everybody that was around Areece, or at the very least created an environment, right, for influence. You look at who he references, right? He's a big Drake fan, right? If you listen to old Drake, Heartbreak Drake called himself a backpack rapper. A backpack rapper makes boom bap rap. Right? Old Drake called himself a backpack rapper. Areece comes into the game. He obviously follows the Drake route. So from a sonic perspective, you look at the man, Areece the artist, you look at the components that built the artist, it should tell you. I hate what's going on. What's going on, TikTok? Right? Let's fix that real quick. So, TikTok was wild. You look at the man, right? You look at the man, you look at the composition of the man, you look at all the influences that the man, right, is built upon. It should tell you, right, that, oh, you are influenced by boom bap rap. Now, we have to go back to what he said, though, right? We have to go back to what he said. We have to go back to why he said it, right? Can we at least stop calling it boom bap rap? Getting a fan asked him, classic hip hop. We spoke of 1980s, late 1980s, all of 1990s, late 2000s. Classic hip hop. Underground hip hop. We speak of underground hip hop. Now, in that era that we speak of, when we speak of underground hip hop, we speak of, Cannibal Ox, Immortal Technique, Diabolical, Atmosphere, right? Aesop Rock, right? Jedi Mind Tricks, right? Killer Priest. You're talking about when we speak of underground hip hop in that era that he is referencing, because he says, let's stop calling it boom bap rap. Let's not name it according to its naming convention that is created based on its sonic properties. That's what he's saying. He said, let's not name it that. Let's name it its cultural placement, right? Or its positional placement at the time, right? So when we talk about classic hip hop, he say, let's name it according to its cultural positioning, right? When we call it underground hip hop, he's saying, let's name it according to its popularity positioning at that time, right? When he says, let's call it original hip hop, he says, let's name it according to where it sits from a time period perspective, right? So he's coming with three different versions of this thing. He's saying, let's not call it according to its actual naming convention. Let's either place it in a time period by calling it classic, place it in a positional stance, of which it's no longer that positional stance anymore, right? Or, at the very least, let's talk about its origins. Akizi, classic hip-hop, underground hip-hop, original, something, Joe, anything but boom bap. So he's saying right? So Blaza, you are late. I've already explained this. Right? You are late. I've already explained what boom bap hip hop is, right? They'll explain to you on the comments if they have the time. So he's saying let's not call it by its naming convention based on its sonic properties. That's he's saying let's call it something else, right? Why is he saying this on the 25th of September at 3:02 p.m.? It's because 2 days prior, right? Where's that tweet now? 2 days prior, Sihle posted a video of me saying this. Dominant. Areece is probably the biggest and the most powerful, dominant boom bap rappers in this country. A country that doesn't prioritize boom bap rap. Now, Sihle posts this, and then 2 days later, here's the answer, right? And now I've walked you guys through why boom bap rap is called boom bap rap, and why I would place boom bap rap on Areece. Why? Because on all of his projects, post Mash Beat, post TWC, when he's not part of a crew or he's influenced by anybody around him, when he makes the executive decisions to create the music, what he does is that he will have a minimum of 4 boom bap songs, right, according to their sonic category or their sonic placement, right, or their sonic property rather, right. He will have about 3 to 4 boom bap songs on his album post TWC. That is not a coincidence. That is consistency, right? And he himself accepts the fact that, oh, I do make classical hip hop or underground hip hop or original hip hop. I just don't want to call it boom bap rap. The Confrontation by Jody also would fall into that. I don't want to call it boom bap rap. Now, the question would be, why don't you want to call it by its true name? Is it because the connotation of boom bap rap, according to the young kids of South Africa who don't know the history of hip hop, have said boom bap rap sucks, right? Niggas ain't trying to listen to boom bap rap. So you would rather say, oh, I make classical hip hop. You would rather say, oh, I make underground hip hop. You would rather say, oh, I make original hip hop. Instead of saying, I make boom bap hip hop because it has a negative connotation. Because the kids be saying boom bap rap sucks or it's boring or whatever the case may be, right? Because they grew up in the era of crunk and trap and whatever. Like some of you guys who were born in the year 2000 are 25 years old right now. In the year 2000, that's when boom bap rap was finding its exit, right? Some of you guys are born in 2005, right? Some of you guys are born in 2009, right? By this time, the era of rap that he makes, right, had already solidified itself that other parts geographically were coming into play because record labels were moving to these towns to go exploit the talent in these towns and areas, i.e. the South, right? So when you guys grow up and listen to hip hop to you guys is Juice WRLD. Hip hop to you guys is Flame. Hip hop to you guys is TWC. Hip hop to you guys is Drake and Nicki Minaj. Hip hop to you guys is Ray Shremmerd. So when you discover Areece, right, that's your lens. I get it. But that's not his lens. Because he grew up with a brother called J. Jody, right? And J. Jody and TK ingratiated him into hip-hop. That's why he can rap this well. Let me teach you something. Anybody that knows how to rap as well as Areece has gone through the school of boom bap rap, right? Niggas know how to rap, right? Because here's the thing. I see somebody says he may not want to be called a boom bap rapper. He wants to be called an artist. You are a hip hop artist. That we don't take that away from you. But you are also a boom bap rapper. Because if you want to be called an underground rapper, or you would rather be called a classic rapper, or you would rather be called the original rapper, what does that make you? Because if you just want to be called an artist, you can say, oh, I want to be called an artist, right? Please do not classify me as a boom bap rapper or anything along those lines. Just classify me as a hip hop artist. But you say No. Rather classic hip hop, underground hip hop, or original hip hop. Right. Now, that is my point. This is why I named him a boom bap rapper on that video that CK posted. Because according to my understanding of hip hop history and my studying of hip hop history, right, you are a boom bap rapper, right? But given the fact that your catalog is not only boom bap rap, right, it is unfair to say, hey man, you're solely a boom bap rapper. Because you're not solely a boom bap rapper, right? We have to account for ambitious areece, TWC areece, and then solo areece. We have to account for three parts of your artistry. And that doesn't make you a traditional boom bap rapper. So I will say, in regards to my statement on that video, by saying you are one of the most important and lauded boom bap rappers, right? I will reposition my statement and say you are one of the most important, if not the most important, boom bap adjacent rappers, or rappers that make a good amount of boom bap music. Because you are not solely a boom bap artist, but you're a boom bap influenced artist. And you make boom bap music. Matter of fact, you are a representation of the evolution of a boom bap rapper in 2025. Whether you like the connotation of boom bap rap or not, it is inconsequential. Why? Because boom bap rap is called boom bap rap because of its sonic properties. It is not called boom bap rap because some kid from Matatiele that just entered into hip hop because of Ray Shremmerd and Cuesta, right, says boom bap is not cool. If you're playing cool politics, that's on you and your fans, right? But to the greater hip hop community, it is boom bap. It will forever remain boom bap because its naming convention is based on its sonic properties that were extrapolated in 1986 from a James Brown song called The Funky Drummer, where the drum break was played by Clyde Stubblefield. And that was taken and sampled, and derivatives of it were created using the Roland 808 drum machine. And that became the bedrock of hip-hop music. Whether you like it or you don't, it is inconsequential because hip-hop itself, whether South African hip-hop or American hip-hop or global hip-hop, it has its history. And there's people who study the history, love the history, will talk about the history, and document and archive the history for generations to come, like myself. Now, I know a bunch of kids are going to look at this and go, oh, get away, old timer. It's fine. We don't care about y'all. You just listen to hip hop because you're 16 and you're trying to be cool because the girl that you want is listening to Brother Cooper, so you think that's something to do. But for areece specifically, he loves hip hop. I know he does because of where he comes from, number one. But how he does it also. He cares for the craft, right? Properly, right? And also part of how he came about, which will go into the second part of the show that I would like to talk about in Answering Hype magazine, right? The way that he moves as a rapper is reminiscent of Jay-Z 1996 with Rockefeller. It's reminiscent of Guru and DJ Premier. It's reminiscent of all of those guys in New York that were trying to, get it independently. It's reminiscent of Master P, right? It's reminiscent of Too Short, It's reminiscent of how hip hop actually built its economy by selling music to people who were pushing street pharmaceuticals and paraphernalia, right? The way that he does it, his direct to consumer system, right? His independent system, the way that he moves, the way that he has built a cult following, even though, right, we can thank Ambitious for a part of that, right? But the way that he does his stuff is so hip-hop, it's so boom bap that he can't escape from that. Whether he's trying to play cool games with some kids out here in the streets or not, right? He can't escape it. That's why he always goes back to those songs. That's why songs like Michael Just Send Me the Chop exists, right? That's why Swiss Frank exists. You understand? That's why El Dorado exists. The Run exists. West Time Africa exists. White Noise with His Brother exists. That's why Scented Candles exists. That's why songs like So Much exists. He always goes back to his original base to address things because that's who he is. He's a rapper influenced by boom bap rap music, the original hip hop music. It's very important to note. Right? So I'll say, you can publicly, right, deny the boom bap stuff. And maybe you're doing it because you don't want to be boxed in. And I understand that you make very good music. Excuse me. You make very good music. Right? You make very, 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 very good music. But it doesn't change that part of your lyricism, if not all of your lyricism, part of your production, part of who you are as a rapper and how you present yourself, even how you dress, right, is influenced by hip hop and boom bap music. And the reason why it's called boom bap music is because of the sonic properties of the sound. Boom for the kick, bap for the snare. This comes from funky drama. Boom bap, boom 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 bap, boom bap. And as long as you make music with a derivative of that drum break, of which you can't make hip hop music without a derivative of that drum break, because dare I even say trap music is a faster version of that drum break. Dare I even say trap music is a faster version of that drum break, right? Even though, right, you can alienate yourself from it, it is still boom bap rap. So that's what I wanted to say, right? I'm repositioning my statement by saying, you may not be a boom bap rapper solely, but Areece, you are most definitely a heavily boom bap influenced rapper. And that's what I have to say to Areece.